Hi guys and welcome to Throzone.com. This is Mohit Soni. What you're looking at is the Ultraviolet F77. This is the Mark II and there is a new variant that is available with the Mark II, and that is called the Superstreet. What that means is, yeah, this is going to be much more street friendly, and let me tell you immediately what the big change is, because everything stays very similar to the Mark II, but at the same time I haven't driven the Mark II earlier, so this is slightly new to me, but I had an extensive time with the first gen Mark 1 F77, and I am immediately seeing those changes here. And let me just immediately tell you what the big change is that is going to make a world of a difference in your riding style is this new handlebar that has replaced the clip-on. This new handlebar makes a lot of sense, a lot of difference, and you guys know about that because clip-ons are dedicated and the ergonomics are slightly different and committed. Here the ergonomics have changed dramatically. You sit upright, the handlebars are quite up and lowered, and at the same time the rake and trail also has changed a little bit, so riding it is very different. At the same time, comfortable is the word that you can finally use with the F77 with this Mark II variant, which is the Superstreet that Ultraviolet is calling it. Ultraviolet is of course very well known for getting all the names and for all the colors and the variants and everything. They've gotten it right for this one as well, and as always it remains a very futuristic looking and performing motorcycle. This is something that will change the game dramatically. This is a moment for Ultraviolet because the comfort aspect was truly missing, and it only remained to a handful of people who were were okay with the commitment that came with the F77. Now that has changed, and you will see me riding in later in the video how it looks like and how the motorcycle exactly performs. But everything else remains the same. As you can see, fantastic colors, very futuristic headlamp with these LED DRLs here. Right here you've got LED turn indicators, you've got in terms of feature you've got an adjustable lever, and it's a very premium high quality motorcycle. Certain things that feel a little bit too basic, but in terms of plastics and the colors and how these very differently scooped out handlebar weights are, but usually they are covered for all these years, but here it's hollow. I guess they are trying to save weight, then they have actually saved weight by almost 10 kilograms. This is significantly lighter than the Mark II already that came earlier last year, last year, and this is something that is is very impressive when it comes to riding, and I'm very keen to tell you how it rides. At the same time, I want to tell you that this is great. You've got an adjustable monoshock for preload, and the front suspension is also adjustable for preload, so that is actually quite brilliant. These are the MRF 150 60 17 tires. This has changed over the Mark II because this earlier used to feel very flimsy. Now it feels very solid, so that's actually great. It retains its hooks below the seat for mounting luggage. The seat is actually quite big for a great for medium to large riders sitting at the back. And this is of course shadow, that is the color, that is name of the color, which is the black color. There is red and white and yellow. They also have different names. This is of course based on the top end Recon variant, which with a larger battery pack. And let me just run you through the instrument cluster here, which is actually feels quite premium, quite nice, and everything is via touch here. And now all the controls make noises, so look at this and hear this out. Can you hear that? So everything will now make noises. That is the big difference from the Mark 1 and Mark II, because like I told you, I haven't ridden the Mark II, so this is my first time with it, and at the same time this is a super street variant also, so that's actually quite brilliant. You go into my F77, you can see all the details. Then you come back, you can see navigate is also up on you. They have Mapple's navigation apps that are available, and that's how it loads. It takes time. You can go back, go into my trips and see the trips and the odometer. Sorry, there are 3 trips and you can reset it from here. Go into settings, you can, that's how the display looks like. There are themes, radar and parallax, again very funky names. Brightness is set to auto, manual is set to 80%, and you can make it even better. So as you can see, now this is even better because I am actually in very harsh sunlight right now. So you can just go back. Mode is day. You can set it to auto, which is the right way to do it, because even if you go inside a tunnel, it's great. And the sound is also adjustable, so that's great. It can go into deep sleep, avoid the batteries to drain out, and if you're not riding a motorcycle for let's say a month, you can put it into deep sleep and that will help you. There's a time zone as well, which will tell you what country you are in, and you can set the times accordingly, because F77 ultraviolet has been exported. There is the performance where you can see ABS can be adjusted with dual and mono, which is also brilliant. Regen is also now adjustable to 9 levels, the base, which is an optional one, and traction control on off also is possible. So we are going to go on the road with this, so let's set it to the max possible. For safety, there is hill hold also now, which also works really well. I've already tried that out. Then there is documents, there is Bluetooth, and then there is battery, which will show you what the position is and how everything is working in terms of battery. There is Bluetooth and there is documents. So yeah, that is how there are 2 modes for the instrument cluster, and that's how it looks like. This is your start stop button as well as the mode changer. This is how you control everything, which is actually quite brilliant. And you've got your horn, turn indicator, and pass light and high beam, and hazard light button is here. This key is mounted very much like a super bike. That's your charging point right there. I told you the recon variant is the top of the line variant. The seats are actually quite comfortable. You have to hand it to Ultraviolet for getting the scooping right, at least. Now I'll have to see how the Mark II behaves on a long distance journey, because when the ergonomics change, you get a better idea of what the seat is also like. So I have done that, all of that I'll explain you while riding. Right now I can tell you that this is what is on offer. That's how the bike looks like. Those are the features. That's the seat. That's the new handlebar. A game changing moment for Ultraviolet, quite really. Let's finally see how it's like to ride. So guys, we've finally ridden the Ultraviolet F77 Superstreet, and what is it like to ride? Well, a lot of things remain the same, but there are changes that are made to this motorcycle. Feature wise, you get now 9 levels of regen, but earlier you got 3. There is 3 levels of traction control. There is dynamic stability control. That is now come as standard on both variants, on the Mark II and on the Superstreet. Ultraviolet is also saying that there has been a revision to the aerodynamics. It's now 15 to 20% more aerodynamic than the Mark II also. So that's a big change in just 1 year from this small update that has led Ultraviolet to deliver even more aerodynamics. And most importantly, it's 10 kilos lighter. The front rake and trail has also changed dramatically. So a lot of change on the front end just to add the handlebar, and how significantly and positively the effects of that have been introduced to the Superstreet variant is very surprising. Is going to be good, and not so good news for new buyers, but not so good news for existing buyers. So I think that's a trend, and that's the price you pay for technology getting better every day. So yeah, that's that. But most importantly, it is now 10 kilos lighter, so that means that riding here and there within the city is going to feel even much lighter. We actually rode on the track, as well as it's not a full-blown track, but it's not a very tight go-kart track, so it was somewhere in between. So it gave us a perfect idea how it would behave in the urban scenario. If we have some urban roads where there are actually good corners. We all have those locations in our areas that we exploit from time to time of riding motorcycles, and that's where I realized how composed the chassis feels, how the extremely stiff suspension plays a very big role in masking all of that weight of the batteries and the chassis and the suspension really well. It doesn't feel heavy even at low speeds. It's only heavy at parking speeds, while you are going to remove the bike from parking here and there, or doing all of that at absolutely low parking speeds. So apart from that, you will not feel the motorcycle feeling ungainly heavy in anywhere else. So all that stiff suspension helps it mask really well. And what is really impressive is how the new handlebar has lent the F77 a brand new life. This has made things far more comfortable. So as a heavier rider, I would put more weight on the clip-ons, and I would get much more stiffer suspension jolting me here and there. But this handlebar that is slightly raised and quite wide gives me endless leverage now over everything. So on the road, I can make a couple of mistakes and get away with it, and that's the true tradition of every bike that gets a handlebar over clip-ons. We've seen so many bikes in the past get this setup, and as we all know, handlebar is more forgiving and lets you gives you more leverage over correcting some mistakes that you make with the front end while riding in the city. So that is really impressive. That has changed the game for F77. The Superstreet variant is going to the most popular variant, because the way it is now going to make riders feel is very impressive. Being kgs lighter, more aerodynamic, more comfortable. Your ergonomics have improved dramatically. You've gone from a 55-degree crouch to an almost 80-degree, almost standing, almost sitting 90 degrees on it. So that is the amount of comfort that has been introduced on this motorcycle, and that has changed the game dramatically. I'm, almost lost for words on how this one thing has changed the game for Ultraviolet, because it was about that. It was all about that comfort. Of course, that stiff suspension still stays, but you are not putting a lot of weight on the motorcycle. And I am a heavier rider, so I do put a lot of weight while crouching on the bike, so I don't get that suspension compliance that the bike has, and let's say a 10-20% compliance that the stock bike Mark 1 and Mark 2 had. But with this, the compliance has gone up dramatically. Let's say by it's now around 35 or 40%. So that helps you be more comfortable. All the jolts from bad roads and all will not be transferred directly or very harshly to your back, hands and wrists, and that is only helping your riding experience to be far more comfortable. And then there is the ergonomics change, the big change from 55 degrees to 80 degrees. So that also is making a lot of change, and hence it's now become tremendously comfortable, but still far away from being out and out comfy. That stiff suspension, like I told you, really helps it mask the weight. Going around corners on the track was very impressive. The ride quality on bad roads outside that we were riding, made things far more better than before. So there is a significant leap in comfort, and it's a very big welcome move. I am very impressed with what Ultraviolet has done here. It's a little late. But as this in Hindi de rahe durust hai. So I think that's what comes to my mind almost immediately. They're not really far away because they don't have competition in this segment, at least in the EV space. They of course compete with ICE bikes, but that's a different story altogether. Right now, very impressed with the brakes, the regen, the tires, the way they've been good on the track. Of course, not out and out sticky, but they held their they held the weight and the dynamics of the motorcycle quite well. It was good enough for us to push it to a very large extent, and that was really impressive considering the kind of batteries and the weight that those batteries and motors bring in. It's been masking all of that really well with the help of very good tires and suspension and brakes. Again, the big highlight is the ergonomics, the handlebar changing the riding position, giving you much more comfort than before. Of course, the ride quality continues to be stiff, but there is now even more compliance, so that is going to be great. And the handling remains sharp. You've got a 40 bhp motorcycle with 100 Nm of torque, which can give you almost 250 kilometers of range, which I think is absolutely brilliant for any city in India. You can go without charging for at least 1.5 weeks, which is quite brilliant. And I'm sure in the future with certain software updates you can even get more range from the same pack, so that's going to be very impressive. Right now the F77 impresses a lot with its ergonomics, and it's going to find a lot of buyers. It's going to be the most popular model for sure, because that tiny aspect that was great and not so great at the same time has been fixed with an optional extra, so you can still go with the Mark II, but there is the Superstreet that is going to impress you at first go, and this is something that is going to change the game. Ultraviolet's F77 just became much more let's say accessible. Of course the pricing is still quite high, but there is a lot of value for money, that's for sure. So clearly a big thumbs up from our end on the F77, and cannot wait to road test it to understand more about it. And I'll see you whenever I can do that, or you'll come to know if you subscribe to us, like our video, follow us, and subscribe to us, and follow us on our social media and website for everyday updates. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.